Hi, Deacon John Wilson here, Education Enrichment Director for West Angeles Church. Hope things are going well for you. I'm really excited about some things happening in the college world. I wanted to go over with you. I'm going to talk about what's happened with the University of Pennsylvania. Let's go through a couple articles. I'll include the links to them below, but let me give you a little background. Uh, University of Pennsylvania made an agreement with the federal government that they wouldn't have transgendered women swimming or being in athletic competition of any kind with women any longer. The whole controversy had started at UPenn with Leah Thomas, who was a trans woman swimming. She was way bigger and stronger than the other ladies. By the way, just barely won, but she won all the meets and that she participated in the NCAA and won some kind of major title that they've rescinded now. And now the question is, will the NCAA remove it from the books? But I think it's a victory for women's sports under Title IX. Title IX, as I told you in another video, in 1972, it's very short. I have a video on it. I'll include that link below. It's a very short provision, and I showed it on screen last time. That says that was meant for women. At 1972, there was no concept of a trans woman. Women should be playing against and with women. And that was a major issue in our last election. A lot of you don't think it was major, but it's the reason a lot of people changed their votes because one party clearly supported that and one didn't. Come on, we need to be reasonable and logical. What makes a woman cannot simply change when it comes to sports competition and a few hormones she or he takes, I guess. He still has the same bone density, still the same size, the same muscular strength many times. None of that changes. So University of Pennsylvania has made that agreement. Let's look through a couple articles on that. So in the aftermath of the agreement, here's a good article, best one I could find, Reverting Records, a Written Apology and Policy Changes, how UPenn reached a deal with the White House over trans athletes and $170 million in federal funding. If you remember, the government withdrew $175 million in federal funding until this issue was worked. So the first sentence is President Trump's alma mater recognized early on it could be under threat. A week after the University of Pennsylvania's alumnus inauguration, the university president composed a message to the school community. Like you, I am closely monitoring the recent developments from Washington that directly affect higher education. Well, it affects them, the $175 million that was reviewed. And then he says a key sentence here. Together, we will protect and reserve what defines us as Penn. I sure hope the UCs are listening to this and the CSUs here in California. This administration is coming for them next. I think, not specifically them, but state schools next. Because states have passed laws or passed allowed policies that are in violation of Title IX of the federal code. Now, the Supreme Court will rule on it soon. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. But here's a university president that says he's got to protect his school, meaning he's got to keep that money. A week later, the university was under investigation. Then listen to this. The battle over the $175 million in frozen federal funding that centered around women's sports at UPenn and one transgender swimmer in particular, that's Leah Thomas, would unfold much differently for now from the ongoing funding fight its sister Ivy League institution, Harvard, has been waging with the Trump administration. So it's all that Harvard stuff I talked about last week. So the deal they reached this week, Penn and the Department of Education, restored the federal funding to the universities. They get back the $175 million. It drew substantial praise from the Trump administration and those hated people, some of you say conservatives. It also drew accusations of surrender and capitulation from faculty, politicians, and more. So that's the end of that. Look down here in this paragraph. That's the last one I'll read. The conflict began in earnest in early February, where President Trump signed an executive order keeping the men out of women's sports. And that's really the way it's viewed. And then, of course, the withdrawal of funds, and talks about Leah Thomas. You should read this article. You really should if you're interested in this issue. It's an interesting article. Look at this picture down here comparing the swimmers' sizes to this extremely tall and built man who's a trans woman. Jameson said, listen to this, that the funding cut, he should have said would have cut, impacted research, prevented hospital-acquired infections, drug screening, deadly viruses, quantum computing protections against chemical warfare, and student loan programs. There you go. I don't think that it affected student loan programs. I think that, as I understand the grants, there were more of those. There was no threat on the student loans. I wish they wouldn't do this. It's scaring parents. Okay? So they say again that they want to continue to engage on this issue. Sorry about that. They want to continue to engage with Office of Civil Rights, vigorously defending our position. He wrote to UPenn community on March 25th. By the end of April, the DOE's investigation concluded that Penn had violated Title IX. So there it all is in a nutshell. I think the UCs and CSUs will have to pay attention to that. Maybe they're waiting until the case in October comes to the court. I don't know, Supreme Court, but I wouldn't wait. And can they take the funding loss hit that's already been threatened by the administration? All right, thank you very much. God bless you. I hope that was informative. If it was, would you please like and subscribe so you can receive notifications even of when I drop videos, which will be a lot this time of the year typically. Bye-bye now.